Mr. Chambers, will you call roll, please?
Certainly. Mr. Eastwood.
Here.
Ms. Pavlik.
Here.
Mr. Skidmore.
Here.
Mr. Ross.
Here.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Here.
Thank you.
Before we begin, I'd like to have a motion for approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on September 17th and the work session on October 1st.
I would like to make a motion that we approve those minutes as noted.
I'll second.
Are there any comments, questions, or modifications that need to be made to those minutes? Hearing none.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
Are there any additions or modifications that need to be made to the consent agenda this evening?
I move to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Thank you.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Thank you.
I enjoy having our students here and was hoping them to keep them the entire meeting. I have a feeling they have a lot to do, though, at home. Very fortunate this evening to have many of our student athletes joining us here today. We have gotten a tremendous amount of support from our athletic booster program. And I think sometimes you see how nice things look out there on the field. Some of the equipment that our coaches are using are state of the art. Or how snazzy our students look out in their uniforms. Tonight, later in the agenda, I have a recommendation to accept the donation of athletic uniforms valuing $70,000. Those are all monies that the district did not have to spend in order to support our students due to athletics. Mr. Hodke contacted me about a week ago and said, you know what, can we share with the board some of those uniforms and the work that our athletic boosters are doing. So we've got some students to walk the runway today. So we're going to see the runway moves, right? I'm just getting blank looks. I'd like to thank Troy McClourley for joining us tonight. He is the booster president. Troy, did you want to say anything?
I think Jeff was going to speak on our behalf. We've and again talk about the students, but again we're so fortunate again for the community and everything, and we're excited to be able to provide the uniforms for many of the sports, and we're going to continue to have rotation and even tighten it up to every 3 to 4 years to provide uniforms for all the sports here at Medina High School and the middle school.
Great. We really appreciate it. Did you want to say anything, Jeff?
Thanks for the opportunity, and I think it's just another example of our community here in Medina supporting our students as well as our student athletes. It's a $70,000 donation, and it's not just this year. This happens year in and year out. And being a former athletic director, there's no way that through the athletic budget could we afford to outfit our young people with such great equipment and uniforms. And this is just a few examples. And by the way, this is some of our best and brightest too sitting up here. They're not just models, but they are outstanding students and athletes. But the Booster Club are those unsung heroes. And many of us sitting in this room are Booster Club members. And many of those dollars that we donate at raffles or buying concessions at different events or your membership fees every year pay for those uniforms. So it's a wonderful thing. We're very blessed to have a great booster club led by Troy and a great group of people. So thanks for recognizing them and just letting them know how important they are to us. So thanks.
Sure you guys don't want to come walk the runway? No. You look sharp. Thank you for joining us this evening. I know you guys have full schedules. Many of you are in season right now. So go home, study hard. We're not going to make you stay here.
But before you go, can I just have a quick second? And that was that, Troy, thank you very much for the work you're doing in your organization. Fantastic. It's been something around Medina for decades, and well appreciated, probably under acknowledged. But most of the people, as I know it, that's not what they're in there for anyway. As far as you guys, beyond just looking good, I want to thank you for participating. And I want you to think about when you're on your prospective field or court that you are the face of Medina. You are us. And so, we are proud of how you participate, and little things matter. You know what I'm talking about if you're out on the field. If you knock a guy down, you pick him up so you can knock him down again. But in your plan, your sportsmanship. So not only in the athletic part, but the team building part, and then the discipline part of being able to do all of that and still do well in academics. He wasn't lying when he said we have some of the best and brightest up here. So I just want to say thank you. I want to encourage you to keep working hard and representing Medina well. Thank you.
Hold on one second, guys. Before you go, can you just go down the row, introduce who you are, what year you're in, and what sport you're representing tonight? If you We're going to get you on TV.
I'm Tommy Guda. I'm representing Medina Boys Soccer, and I'm a senior this year.
I'm Grayson Madden. I'm a senior, and I'm representing Medina Boys Soccer.
I'm Ralph King. I'm a senior, and I'm representing Medina Football.
I'm David Solomon. I'm a senior, and I represent Medina Football.
I'm Ian Dorman. I'm a senior, and I represent Medina Golf.
I'm Jusiana Jarvis. I'm a senior, and I represent girls lacrosse.
I'm Colin McClowery, and I'm a senior, and I represent boys golf.
I'm Ashley Dwyer. I'm a senior, and I represent girls volleyball.
I'm Desiree Schaefer. I'm a sophomore, and I represent girls volleyball.
I'm Haley Anspaugh. I'm a junior, and I represent girls soccer.
I'm Anna Darrell. I'm a junior, and I'm representing Medina cheerleading.
I'm Michelle Kalushis. I'm a junior, and I'm representing Medina cheerleading.
I'm Mary Beth Blakemore. I'm a junior, and I'm representing Medina girls soccer.
And just to quickly reiterate what was already said here tonight, and I think you've heard me say it before, but the extracurricular activities that are offered by a school district for the students are absolutely essential, and it's by no accident that some of our highest performing students are also involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's athletics or whether it's academic clubs. And when we talk to the community and when we talk about how we're spending our money or the support we're receiving from organizations like all of our boosters, it's really important to highlight how those programs help make our students successful outside of the classroom and also inside the classroom. And I'd like to invite Mr. Leatherman up from the Evolve Academy for tonight's presentation.
Well, thank you. We're excited to be here. Board members, President Parkhurst, Treasurer Chambers, and Superintendent Sable, supporters and parents and families at home. We are going to share some things with our building. We've got a student presenter tonight as well, and one of our staff members. So, oh, sorry. Okay. All right. So, brief history. Evolve Academy is a school for students who have been unsuccessful in a traditional school setting. Currently, we enroll grades 3 through 12. We have 2 high school classes, 1 junior high class, and 1 elementary class. current enrollment is just under 30 students. We pull students from all of the school districts in Medina County, plus Copley Fairlawn from Summit County, Norwayne Local from Wayne County, and Clearview Local in Lorain County. Staff, our school therapist is Miss Kimberly Eckberg. We've got a school psychologist, Mr. Aaron Hart. We have 2 high school classes. One is led by Mr. Loftus, and he's teamed up with Mr. Henderson there. And I believe Mr. Loftus is here this evening. Our other high school class is led by Mrs. Janik, and she's teamed up with Mrs. Johnson. Junior high is led by Mrs. Shabrowski, and she'll be presenting shortly. She's teamed up with Miss Miller, who's also in the audience tonight, and Mrs. Hale, one of our newest mental health specialists, is with Mrs. Shabrowski's class as well. And elementary is led by Mrs. Erickson and teamed up with Miss Seiki. So we've got a couple of big picture things. First of all, our main goal at Evolve is to build relationships. We feel this is the key to success in the classroom. And once we break through a student's shell, then we can address behaviors and classwork and start to set a plan for the student's success. Some things that you'll see in our slideshow tonight will be our Business Buddy Mentoring Program, some of our fall field trips that we plan on going on, and one that we've done. We're always repurposing areas in our building, so we've got a new Zen den we're going to show you and an outdoor courtyard. Donations are always welcome. We also have a new PBIS learning lab and school store that Mrs. Shabrowski will cover. And then some of our big events. We had an appetizer open house, Labor Day cookout. We just had our Business Buddy Mentoring brunch last Thursday. And then, of course, we are well known for our Thanksgiving feast. What you see right here is our new Zen den. This was a chair storage room off the wing of the theater. So we found a new way to house the chairs this summer. We got a new window. We added the new furniture. Where the 2 green stools are, there's going to be a work counter installed there. And students get to go to the Zen den when they need a Zen moment, but also when they're on task. It's just a chance where they can go and work quietly and enjoy the space. And it's been a big hit so far. We also partner with the Teacher Academy from the Medina County Career Center. And those students came out and spent a half day with us last year. They're scheduled to come again. They also came in the spring, and we did landscaping together. We remulched and got some of the weeds. But the seniors that are now freshmen in college, they had some dollars they had saved and wanted to donate to us. So we said we would like to start an outdoor courtyard and needed picnic tables. These tables were just built by the current seniors in the carpentry program. And so we just got them delivered last week, and they've been a big hit. Now the weather's changed a bit, but we still plan to get out there. So I'm going to turn things over to Mrs. Shabrowski at this point.
All right. Thanks for having us today. Thanks for letting us brag about our building. We are very proud of all of our students and our staff. So as you can see on the screen now, it's our PBIS Learning Lab. And students visit the lab once a week for a class. Mrs. Johnson and I partner up to teach that class. And we are teaching behavioral expectations for our building and out in the community. And our behavior matrix, just like our school's named Evolve, the matrix evolves as well with the students. Am I too close? With their students and their input. So when they demonstrate appropriate behaviors, they earn scans, and then they can go to the store to cash out for things. The bigger items are gift certificates for merchandise in area stores or business is on the square. They can also purchase certificates for school privileges, which I'll tell you about that in a second. Drinks, snacks, trinkets, toys. So again, donations are welcome for the store as well. And then if you move on, this is one example of one of our rewards. Madison Cantor purchased a certificate to be principal for the day, and she did it just in time. She purchased it and cashed it on Thursday. So she actually made the slideshow that you're viewing. So I will let Maddie come to the podium if you'll welcome her, please, and she will continue on with our presentation.
Like Ms. Brosky said, my name is Maddie Cantor. I'm a sophomore at Evolve, and my home district is Cloverleaf. I'm going to share with you some of the great events that go on at our school. As you can see from the screen, we held an appetizer open house on September 12th. 25 of our 30 families attended. Student and staff both contributed finger foods and desserts. For example, the middle school made chocolate-covered strawberries, while the high school, me, and others, made homemade pizza bites. Holidays are always celebrated at Evolve Academy. We do a monthly birthday celebration completed with cake. As you can see on the screen, we held a traditional Labor Day cookout completed with burgers, dogs, and other fixings. Like last year, I was selected to assist with the barbecuing. New this year, our high school and junior high classes took a field trip to the Medina County Career Center Challenge Course. We pushed ourselves to the limits and heights we didn't think we could reach. Our students really bonded as a team. It was a really awesome day. Here in these pictures, as you can see, one of our students was a featured artist at the second annual DDC art show. I was able to attend and support one of my friends.
So our elementary, as you can see, got to do a field trip to City Hall. I know Mr. Shields helped with that, but one of our fifth graders had asked the mayor if he could pass a new law or proclamation that all children in Medina on the night of Halloween would receive a minimum of 5 pieces of candy per household. Well, as much as the mayor wanted to do that, he did explain that that would be an abuse of his power, much to the sadness of our elementary group that day. But, you know, keep that in mind if you're listening out there, to have proper supplies. So just last Thursday, we had a business buddy brunch, which is sort of the kickoff where the kids get to see their mentors again. Mentors can stop in and see the students anytime they want. We had built a coffee bar and they stop and use that. But we'll start this month, and once a month, all of our students get a chance to go out for 2 hours and be in the world of work, and also have a really positive role model with someone in the community. And you can see we have a lot of businesses. We had 2 new businesses get on board, so it's good. It caught on, and we actually have openings, so that's a nice thing. And as we get students, we will have places to put them. And this is just a little panorama slide, but we do have morning recess. You can see our 2 guys in the upper corner there. They enjoy that. We've got one-on-one learning happening right there with Mr. Loftus. Mrs. Johnson and Miss Eckberger showing our Starry Night tapestry that is going to get hung in the Zen Den. Mrs. Johnson's family had donated that. We've got the junior high there on the steps out in front. There was a mindfulness reward and walk where they got to go up to Cool Beans, which is one of our business sponsors. And we do have a PBI point leaderboard, so that's what our happy, smiling young man there is pointing out for us. And there's I think that was a science lab where they were making goo, or it might have been lava, but I believe that was the goo, so that was active. Toothpaste? Okay. Elephant toothpaste. So they were making the elephant toothpaste that day. That is correct. All right. And now I'm going to let Mrs. Shabrowski and Maddie do our big finish here. Oops, you guys are going to need that.
So as you can see, we have many students at Evolve. They're artists, athletes. We have some very tech-savvy students who helped us with this also. And we have a poet. So one of our students, a freshman student named Emily, wrote this poem for us, and Maddie's going to read it off.
Evolve, where peace and love comes first, where mental health is heard, where everyone sometimes needs a friend, where we'll all be there for each other in the end, where we all spread love and joy, where we all can be ourselves, a place of such understanding, a place of problem solving. We hold rewards, field trips, movie days, and other fun stuff together. But the best thing we hold is unconditional love for each other. We are family, we are successful, we are mindful, we are Evolve.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
I'd like to thank our Evolve Academy for presenting today. It's really a special resource that we're able to have within our school district that not many districts offer. And to be able to have that resource and be able to offer it even beyond our walls to kids across the county or even outside of our county is pretty special. And then to imagine that we do that and it's at no additional cost to the school district, that the Evolve Academy is self-funded through their tuitions. Really enjoyed student presentation. I thank you for coming this evening. I think it means so much more when we're able to hear from one of our students on how your education is impacting you, and we're happy to have you part of the Evolve Academy.
Aaron, I'd like to say something. I had the opportunity to meet Maddie last winter, and I just want to say that I have just seen how much you have grown and flourished, and you are growing into such a mature young lady, and it's exciting to see. Thank you, everybody at Evolve, and thank you, Maddie, for your hard work and everything that you're doing over there.
Thank you very much for your presentation. You did a great job. And please thank Emily as well. We really enjoyed her poem. That was very special. Thank you.
Mr. Sable, can we also be excused to make sure we get Madison out the door? Yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's the true reason I was waiting to start, because, you know, everybody's so interested in the finances here. So I know.
You guys aren't helping.
The district bank balance decreased by $3.8 million in September to $87 million. This is $2.2 million above last year at this time. General fund revenues were below last September by $700,000. Real property and public utility property account for this decrease. Higher payments in the first half of 2018 to take advantage of the tax code change and a missed public utility tax filer account for these decreases. General fund expenditures were above last September by $1.8 million. Personal services, benefits, and supplies account for this increase. And it all relates to the strategic plan and also having 7 pays this fiscal year as opposed to 6 at this time last fiscal year. The sales tax fund balance is down to $3.5 million. District spent approximately $162,000 for the month of September. District received $108,000 in investment income for September. The total collected for the current fiscal year basically is $24,000 above what was collected from 2010 to 2015. The district currently has a general true days cash estimate to be about 279 days. This is down from August by 17 days and below last year at this time by 11.7 days. Any questions on the current finance? Okay, on to the 5-year forecast. I always stand up on a soapbox when I say this first paragraph, so I'll stand up or sit up, more than I usually do. The school district and all school districts in Ohio are the only government agencies in the state required to create and submit a 5-year forecast. The forecast is created based upon the current information and numbers and assumptions. The forecast is only good the day it is created. Changes made by outside forces will always have an effect on the forecast. Okay, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. Thank you. There are 3 main sources of revenue which will be affected throughout the forecast. These sources are real property taxes, unrestricted grants and aid, which is school foundation, and property tax allocation funding. The real property tax revenue funds look stable as a result of the passage of the substitute levy in May, with collection beginning in calendar year 2019. This levy will allow for continued funding of the $6.6 million to the district. The passage of the substitute levy allows the district to move forward with the strategic plan approved by the board here in June of 2017. The school foundation fund has increased by $10 per year per pupil. This has created a reduction in funding for the district based upon the current funding formula. The district continues to see steady growth in value of the property and new construction. This growth is good for the community. However, the amount the state funds the district decreases with growth. Not known at this time is how much the increase in value of the Nexus pipeline will affect the per pupil value of the district when the pipeline is placed on the tax duplicate. As this valuation increases and outpaces the state per pupil value, say that 3 times, the state per pupil value, the amount of funding to the district will decrease based upon the current funding formula. Property tax allocation funding is money coming from the state for homestead and rollback reductions to property taxes. The state has stopped distributing the tangible personal property tax loss reimbursement monies to the district. As a reminder, at its high, the tangible personal property tax monies that we received totaled $7.5 million. We no longer receive this as the state discontinued the business tax years ago. The district assumes increases in expenses as the forecast moves forward. We assume personnel will remain with the district as the retirement system increases the years required for retirement. Costs for tuition and utilities are anticipated to increase. Supplies and material costs are anticipated to remain steady but fluctuate through the forecast with the strategic plan. The strategic plan will provide for additional academic opportunities for students K through 12. These opportunity costs are reflective throughout the forecast. If you go to the last page and look at line 12.010, it is showing that the fund balance, including the 5.2 mil substitute levy and the passage of, will allow the district to remain fiscally sound for the forecasted future. The 5-year forecast incorporates the strategic plan of the district. The current forecast shows the yearly reductions in the ending balances as the programs and services are implemented with no additional funding promised to the taxpayers for the support of the levy. This forecast shows the stabilizing effect the community provided the district. The Board of Education approved the 5-year strategic plan in June of 17, which will provide for additional programming and services. The forecast incorporates this plan. Because of the passage of the 5.2 mil substitute levy in May, the district will continue to collect $6.6 million, creating a more stable school district while remaining fiscally conservative. Do you have any questions on the 5-year forecast?
Just a quick comment and just number one is thank you. One thing we've learned through the years from is that you do a great job in estimating the 5-year forecast, and we take it for granted. And believe it or not, some treasurers are not very good at it. So thank you, because there's a level of trust that we have in these numbers that have proved out through the years, and so that's good. Secondly, just looking at what page is that on? Page 3 of the 5-year. You've got that chart where it declines down, and is it our thought then around 2022 is where we would go back potentially at that point, or do you think we'll wait until 2023 to get the next levy on the ballot for operating at that point?
Well, remember, again, you're estimating out 5 years. If I was to look at it, I would look at definitely 2022 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would also wait till 2020 to see how 22, 23 play out.
Because, I mean, if we go to 23, 15 million is just not a big buffer. And,
No.
if then we had trouble at that point, we could put ourselves into some jeopardy. So I know that, like, this year, we're going to bring in more than we spend. But then as we go, and we knew we were going to do this over the next 4 years, we knew that there would be a certain amount coming in, and we'd be spending down some of the reserves slightly each year. But so our thought at this point is around 2022 as a district. Is that what we're thinking? And this is open to Aaron too. I mean, I know it's both of you.
We have talked about this. Even today we spoke about this, and we looked at having a quarter of our budget is right where we want to be. So in 2022, we would look at possibly going out. But again, it depends on what we see in 2020. before we go ahead.
And have you factored in like COLA costs for labor, something like that?
We've factored in a slight COLA cost.
Okay.
We've also factored in steps currently for everybody that's in the district.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
Board communications? Does anyone have anything they'd like to report?
Just regarding the facilities committee, the season was a lot of work going on. Unfortunately, with some problems we had at the tennis courts, the final top coating does not look like it's going to get put on until next spring. That was due to underground problems that we encountered during the construction. Everything got bumped back, and the final coating needs to be put on when it's 50 degrees or warmer for 5 days running, and I think we're out of calendar days. So that's very discouraging on my thought, and I'm sorry for what that's going to mean across the board. But next spring, temperatures come up and that surface will get finished. But if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. Out at transportation, things are functional, things are good from that perspective, and we're working through punch lists and final outcomes with that project.
The Finance Committee resumed their monthly meetings in September. Discussion focused on the current bonds of the district, bond usages, bond ratings, levy history. Our district's bond rating is currently at AA2, which is the same as Highland and Brunswick. The question was asked, what is the highest rating, which is a AAA, so we're very close to that. Aaron stated before any move would be made on any possible bond issue, the district would seek information from the community, similar to how the strategic plan was developed. He also advised the committee that the district is utilizing the Facilities Assessment Program through the Ohio Facilities Construction Committee. The state will be sending construction experts to our district for on-site evaluations of each building, and these statements were positively received by the members of the Finance Committee. The Curriculum Committee met today. Tina Cassidy stated that October 12th was Professional Development Day, and it was a success. The elementary math training went well, and the teachers were very positive regarding it. They felt it was extremely helpful. When the state moved to required hours versus required days, Medina is well over the required hours minimum. It allowed for a full day for this type of professional development and training. And these PD days saves the district a lot of money, since we are not required to hire subs to cover for when these teachers have to go for this professional development. And that is required by the state of Ohio, the PD professional development. Tina also answered our questions on whether student enrollment increases or decreases when students move from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. Oftentimes that's when students may opt to go to private schools. This past move from the 2017 to 2018 to 2018-19 school year, we actually gained 10 students. The year before, we lost 7, and the year before that, it was +6. So there's really not any massive exodus of students from the district. So I see that as, so that was a question that I often hear is, well, a lot of kids leave to go somewhere else for high school, and that's not true. The numbers show that's different. And the last meeting that I was at, the Partnership Council, both Ron and I, we attended. It's a quarterly meeting, and it pulls together the different areas of the city, Chamber of Commerce, the Rec Center, local police departments, and the school district to discuss what's happening throughout the community. Tina and Matt from our curriculum department were there to explain the recently released state report card, which a lot of people had questions on that, and they did a great job clarifying. And Amy Busby and Sergeant Scott Markham discussed the route of the homecoming parade, which had to change this year due to the construction. But what I thought was really neat, that there were representatives from 7 out of our 9 PTOs. These reps, they're truly the driving force behind the success of our PTOs. They're amazing. After that, the main meeting, Dave Chambers and I stayed for what was called the president's meeting of the PTO. In that meeting, Dave discussed insurance coverage and board policy, how it applies to the PTO. And we found out that those individual PTOs were paying their own individual insurance premiums, ranging from like $125 to one school was $800 a year. And Dave advised the PTO reps that the district covers PTOs with the liability insurance as long as they're following board policy and as an improved organization. So budgets, standardizing procedures, how to handle cash boxes, how the budget is structured, how many signatures are required on a check. These are all things that Dave is going to be working with the PTOs, so best practices can be established. He also wants to use Google Docs so that these procedures can be accessed by all PTOs, which is the step, because once when new PTO officers get elected every, it seems, 3, 4, 5 years, they're already going to, instead of recreating the wheel, they'll know what to do, and they'll be standardized. So each PTO is handling their cash box the same way throughout the district, which is, it's neat because, again, often we hear from parents, they want to, why is one elementary school doing something different than the other? So this will help standardize that. And again, I just want to thank Dave for helping with them and getting them on the right track. So thanks.
Can I just piggytail on that? Thanks for Dave. I had a PTO president contact me and tell me about this, what you just shared about the insurance, and just how impressed she was that you looked into something that's really going to help all of them, that people just took for granted they had to do what they were doing. So they're extremely appreciative, and the students will benefit because they're not spending money on something they don't need to, as long as they follow the procedures that we have to. So thank you.
A couple of us got an invite from the golf team from Coach Mozingo to have fun and be paired up with some of the kids from the JV and the varsity, the boys from the golf team, and Valerie and I got to be in a group that played on October 4th, and we were just impressed with the students, and they're good at golf, obviously, but they seem like just really good gentlemen, and we had a good time. So I appreciate Coach Mozingo and the work he does. And Troy was here earlier with the boosters, and it was great to see the presentation of the sports teams. And we're so glad that the community supports the boosters, and that we can keep our teams well uniformed and support them. And so I've enjoyed that, enjoyed homecoming this past weekend. They did a great job with the festivities, and Amy rerouting the parade with the construction that's gone on. So we appreciate all your work with that. The only other thing I was going to touch base on was we talked a little bit at the work session about whether we would videotape, and I don't know if that's something we should talk about again sometime as a board, but I think it would be good for us to consider going ahead and videotaping our work sessions. Again, we did at one point, and I know we've gotten away from it, and I think we're taping them on audio tape, but it would be my recommendation that we consider videotaping them again. Whatever logistically we can do with that, it's just a thought, but I just was going to bring that up in my comments, so thank you.
Just want to shout out, first of all, the girls cross-country varsity team, our Greater Cleveland Conference champions. Just wanted to shout out to them. Also, shout out to Amy, like Rob mentioned, on a great job on the homecoming parade and the reroute. This is wonderful. It was very lively over at Claggett. So you did a great job with that. Thank you. The rec center is going to meet Thursday, and I apologize, I don't have the agenda, or I'd give you an idea of what we were going to be discussing. But as always, we'll get you the minutes from the meeting. And tonight, as Rob mentioned, we're on the policy committee. It's our second reading on several policies to approve tonight. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you all for your extensive updates. Mr. Skidmore, we did have, I think, mentioned maybe discussing at a work session the videotaping. One thing I'd like to look at is the cost of that as well, because there will be an additional cost for that. And I know it's been said often, but Mrs. Busby, thank you again for the homecoming route. And I enjoyed not having the trucks because I thought it made it much more personable to be able to interact with the participants in the parade and see them up close. And I thought that was quite fun. Thank you.
I don't think we did tape them in here, and we didn't have staff help us do it. We hit a button, and they weren't live, but we've done that. And there wasn't an additional cost that I was aware of. It was just part of our. But I know if it's in the other room where we have to buy equipment, that's different. But there is a way to do it without a cost. But it just depends where we meet for them.
We can discuss later.
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
We spoke a lot. We need to let Mr. Chambers catch up with his notes for our minutes.
Isn't it? Yes, if it pleases the board, I'd like to recommend that the Board of Education approve September 2018 Treasurers Board Report. Number 2, supplemental to the 2018-19 permanent appropriations. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following appropriations for the 2018-19 permanent appropriations. We have increases mainly from the high school, from your 200 funds. These were, I spoke about this when we passed the permanent appropriations. There were some that did not get back to our finance secretary at the high school in time for the regular appropriations itself. And if you have any questions on those, please let me know. Number 3, approve the 5-year forecast. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the October 2018 5-year forecast and notes to comply with the State of Ohio Department of Education requirement that I thoroughly discussed. Number 4, the Education Service Center of Medina County disbursement. It is recommended that the Board of Education elects to receive the refund amount for the fiscal year 2017 and 18 and maintain a carryover balance of $25,000 with the Educational Service Center of Medina County.
I make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments from the board?
I'd like to make a comment on, years ago, we had scenarios where the ESC was allowed to carry over larger amounts of money, and I really appreciate the fact that you, even though the state allows us to put as much as 50,000 carryover, that you and we as a board have kept that down to 25,000. So a $90 plus thousand reimbursement to the district. I appreciate you making sure that took place, so thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Eastwood?
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore?
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Ms. Parkhurst?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First item is donations. A few I'd like to point out to you. First of all is the donation of a $400 grill to the Evolve Academy. If it was appropriate that that donation was on this evening. In addition to that, we have many of our donations from the PTOs with their continued support. I'd like to point out the $13,000 donation from our band boosters, and that is for the purchase of a trailer to help transport equipment to all of their events. And like I had mentioned earlier this evening, we also have the $70,000 donation to the athletic department, which is the uniforms that you saw this evening. As Mr. Ross had mentioned, we have a number of policies to recommend this evening. It is recommended that the Board of Education review for the second time with possible adoption the following new and revised policies and replacement forms. I do want to note, as I did when they presented for first reading, that these are mostly just regular updates to the policies, no major changes. We have one field trip on the agenda this evening. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following overnight field trip in compliance with Policy 2340 for the 2018-2019 school year. And this is for our girls basketball team to travel on their annual trip down to Florida for tournament competition. This is completely paid for through support from our booster organizations, fundraising, and also costs that are left to the families. Number 4 is an agreement for Ohio Provider Resource Association. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreement between the Medina City School District and Ohio Provider Resource Association to provide for identified Medina City Schools career-based intervention students to participate in the Community Connections Career Partnership. This Ohio program is an alternative pathway to high school graduation. It costs approximately $53,000. I do want to note that half of this is reimbursed by the Medina County Board of Developmental Disabilities. This program is also otherwise known as our C3PO program. I know you all are familiar with the success we've had with that program and have been contacted by other districts to actually model what we're doing for those students. Number 5 is agreements for students placed at the Evolve Academy. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the agreements that students placed at Evolve Academy will be provided educational services by the Medina City Schools for the districts listed below. I'm not going to go through and name these. I think they were mentioned at our earlier presentation. I do want to note, though, that it's these contracts that makes the Evolve program self-supportive. So the involvement of these other districts and their ability to place kids at the Evolve Academy is very important to the program. Number 6 is amended service agreements, which we have 2 of them tonight. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following amended service agreements for the 2018-2019 school year. Both of these are for identified special education students. The first one is music therapy enrichment. The second is a contract which was approved over the summer with the Cuyahoga County Educational Service Center. This one's updated with an additional student that's going to be attending that program that was not on the original contract. Number 7 is service agreements. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following service agreements for the 2018-2019 school year. The first is curricular. This is for assistance and professional development for implementation of the Bridges Math program, which was adopted last year and is being implemented at the elementary level. With the progressive approach that we're utilizing in this math program, which fits within our strategic plan, it's important that our teachers receive appropriate and continued professional development and support to ensure the success of that program. We also have services for a special education student and TRECA. TRECA is our online instructional program for the online school program we have here at Medina High School. This is also an important ticket item in that it allows us to service students in-house that are struggling with the traditional school environment. It also allows us to retain students that might otherwise go to private or public online schooling systems. Number 8 is a service agreement for extended school year services for the 18-19 school year. This is for the missing piece, which is a relationship development service for a specific Medina City School student with special needs as stated in the student's IEP during the 18-19 school year with extended school year services if needed for the summer of 2019. I know we've had a few of these on the agendas already. I thank our Pupil Services Department for being on top of these. We want to ensure that any students that qualify for extended school year programming get the best programming that is available. So in an effort to ensure that, getting these contracts in and approved early in the year is important. And number 9 is personnel. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following recommendations for personnel positions in the district pending completion of the hiring process and hiring packets through the Human Resources Office. A couple I want to point out here is we do have a classified retirement on here. Elaine Nerlich, paraprofessional, is retiring with 25 years of service as of December 31st, 2018. Elaine is currently a paraprofessional assigned to the Media Center at Claggett Middle School. She oversaw the remodeling of the Claggett Media Center this summer and got it back in shape in time for the start of the school year in August. Elaine started with the district in 1993 as a crossing guard and then became a paraprofessional working at the Kindergarten Center and Canavan before spending nearly 20 total years at Claggett. So I want to wish her well as she moves into retirement. In addition, I do want to point out that we have an administrator substitute for approval on the agenda as well. And I can't, there it is. It's for Joseph Bagnacca. Give you a little bit of background about Joseph. Joseph retired from the Wadsworth City Schools at the end of last school year. He served them as their business and facilities director. He spent most, if not all, of his career over in the Wadsworth Schools as an administrator and has a wealth of knowledge, was involved in the building of their new facilities, has been involved in putting in tennis courts. So he's really well versed and an outstanding person to be able to bring in on a substitute basis to help us out in the case of a leave of absence.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the superintendent's action items.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Hearing none, roll please.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Thank you.
We've reached the point in our meeting for public participation. I don't believe anyone has signed in. If anyone does wish to speak, they may come to the podium. If not, I will waive the rules for public participation. Okay.
Mrs. President, can I do something from a public participation? I was reflecting on the comment earlier about our girls cross country winning their conference, and it reminded me this summer of going to the stadium to spot for the freshman football team, and I got a chance to see the girls and Coach Jordan, who it impressed me in a lot, his relationship with those young ladies, the discipline they had, just how friendly and willing they were to do what they had to do. And I thought to myself, man, this is something Medina can be proud of. I had no idea where they stood in the conference, but after hearing that, I just wanted to give them all a shout out. I think it's great.
Thank you. Well, this concludes our meeting. I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session to consider the appointment, employment, compensation of a public employee or official, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is averse to general public interest, and discussion with legal counsel of disputes involving the board that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. We do not anticipate taking any action when we return. Thank you all for coming tonight.
I second that motion. You just made a motion, yep.
Ms. Parkhurst.
Aye.
Mr. Skidmore.
Aye.
Mr. Eastwood.
Aye.
Ms. Pavlik.
Aye.
Mr. Rose.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're officially ended until we come back. Thank you.